kissing the smile on Lauren's face as I left for a business trip was the last normal moment of my life. 3 days later, our 12-year relationship and $150,000 in savings had vanished into thin air. But the ending of my story wouldn't be what she expected, not by a long shot. My name is Ethan Carter, 38 years old, a project manager at a tech firm in Seattle. That morning, as I boarded a flight to Chicago, my mind was laser-focused on a career-defining project presentation. The last image I had of Lauren was at the airport. Her hair still damp from a shower, wearing my favorite red sweater, the one that always made her look like she belonged in a cozy autumn painting. "We'll talk about that house when you're back, promise," she'd said, her eyes sparkling with the dream of the home we'd been saving for, the one we'd spent countless nights planning. The craftsman-style house with a wraparound porch, a garden for her herbs, and a study for my late-night work sessions. It was our future, or so I thought. The flight to Chicago was uneventful, but my nerves were buzzing. This presentation wasn't just another meeting. It was a make-or-break moment for a multi-million-dollar contract that could fast-track my career. I spent the plane ride tweaking slides, rehearsing my pitch, and mentally mapping out every possible question the clients might throw at me. Lauren's parting words echoed in my mind, a small anchor of comfort amidst the pressure. I didn't know that anchor was about to snap. It was a warm July morning in the lobby of my Chicago hotel. The space was all glass and marble, with sunlight streaming through floor-to-ceiling windows, casting long shadows across the polished floor. I was sipping a black coffee, strong enough to jolt me awake after a restless night, while reviewing the final details of my presentation on my laptop. My phone, resting on the table, pinged with a notification. I glanced at it, expecting a work email or a text from Lauren wishing me luck. Instead, it was from my banking app. Account balance, $0. The world seemed to tilt. My coffee cup nearly slipped from my hand, splashing a few dark drops onto the table. I stared at the screen, my heart hammering in my chest. Our $150,000, the down payment for our dream home, the sum of years of disciplined saving, late-night budgeting sessions, and skipped vacations, was gone. Just gone. My hands trembled as I opened the app, praying it was a glitch, a display error, anything but the truth. But the transaction history was clear. A single transfer 2 days ago had drained the account to nothing. I called the bank immediately, my voice straining to stay calm, even as my pulse thundered in my ears. The customer service representative was polite but detached, her voice a monotone as she delivered the blow. "Sir, the funds were withdrawn 2 days ago via an authorized transfer. The transaction was initiated by Lauren Harper, a joint account holder. Would you like me to pull up the specific details?" Lauren? My Lauren? The woman I'd shared a home with for a decade, the one who'd cried with me when my father passed, who'd laughed with me over late-night pizza and bad sci-fi movies, the one who'd promised, just yesterday, to plan our future together. It didn't compute. It couldn't. I hung up and dialed Lauren's number. It rang and rang, then went to voicemail. I tried again. Same result. I sent a text. "What's going on? Where's our money?" No response. My fingers hovered over the keyboard, then typed another. "Lauren, this isn't funny. Call me." Nothing. I left a voicemail, my voice a tight wire of forced calm, "Lauren, I saw the account. Call me back now." Silence. Even then, after 12 years of trust, I clung to the hope of a misunderstanding. Maybe the account had been hacked. Maybe she'd moved the money for some legitimate reason, a surprise, a safety precaution. Maybe she was in trouble, coerced somehow. My mind spun through every possible explanation, no matter how far-fetched, because the alternative, that she'd betrayed me, was too much to bear. My meeting was in an hour. I was a professional, damn it. I had to pull it together. I splashed cold water on my face in the hotel bathroom, straightened my tie, and walked into that conference room like my world wasn't imploding. I delivered the presentation flawlessly, my voice steady, my smile practiced. I answered every question, cracked a joke that earned a laugh, and shook hands with the clients as they nodded approvingly. The contract was as good as signed. But inside, I was burning. Worry and anger, twisting into a knot that tightened with every passing minute. Back in my hotel room that evening, I sat on the edge of the bed, staring at my phone, willing it to light up with an explanation. I called Lauren again. Nothing. I checked the banking app obsessively, as if the balance might magically reappear. At 10:32 p.m., a single text from Lauren arrived, and it hit me like a punch to the gut. "I'm leaving, Ethan. I met someone else. Don't try to find me." 12 years. 12 years of shared dreams, shared fights, shared mornings tangled in bed. Reduced to one cold, impersonal message. I opened our home security camera app, a system we'd installed after a neighbor's break-in. The feed loaded, and there she was, in our living room, packing suitcases with a man I didn't recognize. He was tall, with slicked-back hair and a smug grin, tossing her clothes into a bag like he owned the place. On the coffee table, I could make out plane tickets. Bali, departing the next morning. The timestamp showed this was happening live. She was already moving on, erasing me, erasing us, with my money funding her escape. Sleep never came that night. The hum of the hotel room's air conditioner mingled with the questions screaming in my head. When had this started? How had I missed it? I replayed the last few months, searching for signs I'd overlooked. Lauren's weekend getaways with friends that she'd always been vague about. Her late nights working, when she'd come home smelling faintly of perfume I didn't recognize. The new dresses in her closet, the unfamiliar jewelry, gold bangles, a delicate necklace, that I'd assumed were gifts from her sister or impulse buys. I'd been so consumed with work, so trusting, that I hadn't questioned any of it. While I'd been planning the perfect birthday gift for her, a custom locket with our initials engraved, she'd been orchestrating her exit from our life. Then I remembered something. A year earlier, after a friend was scammed out of his savings, I'd taken precautions without telling Lauren. I'd installed an app that logged all financial transactions in real time, syncing them to a secure cloud server. I'd also convinced her to enable a GPS tracker on her phone, framing it as a security measure, in case either of us was ever in trouble. She'd agreed without much thought, and I'd never had reason to use it. Until now. I opened my laptop, my fingers moving with a calm precision that belied the storm inside me. The transaction logs were clear. The $150,000 had been transferred to an account under the name Mark Reynolds. A quick social media search revealed Mark's Instagram page, a carefully curated gallery of wealth and charm. Photos of him on yachts, at rooftop bars, and, most damningly, with Lauren. The earliest picture of them together was 6 months ago. A candid shot of her laughing in his arms at a beachside restaurant. Bali wasn't their first getaway. They'd been building a secret life behind my back, funded by my trust. The GPS tracker showed Lauren's phone was already in Bali, at the Azure Haven, a luxury resort nestled among palm trees and Pacific rains. I pulled up the resort's website. Private villas with infinity pools, candlelit dinners under starlit skies, spa treatments that cost more than my monthly rent. There she was, living in paradise with my money, our dream, while I sat in a sterile hotel room, picking up the pieces of my shattered life. By morning, I had a plan. I wasn't going to scream or beg or let her see me break. I was going to take back what was mine and make sure she felt the weight of her betrayal. I called my best friend Jake, a financial fraud attorney with a reputation for being relentless. "Ethan, this is theft," Jake said, his voice sharp and professional. "She had no legal right to drain a joint account for personal use without your consent. We can freeze the funds, file charges, and potentially recover everything. But we need to move fast. International transfers complicate things." "Do it," I said, my voice steady. "But I don't just want the money back. I want her to feel the consequences. Both of them." Jake didn't hesitate. He filed an emergency freeze request with the bank, submitted applications to international fraud units in Bali, and requested a full audit of the transaction. I sent him the GPS data and transaction logs, which showed every step of Lauren's betrayal in cold, digital detail. Within hours, the account was locked. Lauren and Mark didn't know it yet, but their paradise was about to crumble. Next, I called my sister Mia, who worked in PR and had a network of contacts in the travel industry. She was the kind of person who could get things done without asking too many questions. "I need to know exactly where Lauren and Mark are staying in Bali," I told her. "And I need a way to send them a message, anonymously. They can't know it's from me." Mia's voice was calm but curious. "Ethan, what's going on?" "I'll explain later," I said. "Just trust me. This is important." She didn't push. She knew I wouldn't ask for something like this unless I was deadly serious. By Thursday evening, she'd confirmed their hotel, the Azure Haven, a 5-star resort with villas that cost $2,000 a night. She'd also arranged for a local contact, a hotel staff member who'd deliver a package to their room for a discreet fee, no questions asked. I prepared the package myself, my hands steady as I worked. Inside was a single photograph, a screenshot from our security camera showing Lauren and Mark kissing in our apartment, their faces unmistakable in the grainy light. On the back, in bold red marker, I wrote, "I see you. Enjoy your vacation. It won't last long." No signature. None was needed. I sealed the envelope, handed it to a courier, and waited. Friday morning, Jake called with an update. "The account's frozen, and Bali authorities are involved. They're digging into Mark Reynolds. Turns out he has a fraud record in 2 other countries. Looks like he's pulled this stunt with other women, charming them, draining their accounts, then disappearing. Lauren might not even know who she's with." I leaned back in my hotel chair, a cold smile spreading across my face. "Good. Let's make sure they both find out." That afternoon, the package was delivered to their room. I imagined Lauren's face as she opened it, her smile fading as she saw the photo, the words on the back sinking in. Mark's confusion, maybe panic, as they realized someone was watching. They'd probably try to check out early, use the money to flee again. But when they did, they'd find their account empty, completely frozen. The resort, with its 5-star prices, wouldn't let them leave without settling the bill. They were trapped. Saturday morning, Jake called again. They tried to withdraw money last night, probably after getting your package. They couldn't. The hotel's holding their luggage until the bill's paid, and authorities are on their way to question them. Lauren called the bank in a panic, demanding to know what's going on. They told her the account's under investigation for fraud. I nodded, a strange calm settling over me. And the money? It's being transferred to a new account in your name, Jake said. You'll have it by Monday. But there's more. Mark's been detained. He was already on an international watch list. Lauren's not in custody, but she's stranded in Bali with no money, no way out, and a hotel bill she can't pay. I closed my eyes, letting the weight of his words sink in. It wasn't just about the money anymore. It was about justice, about making sure Lauren and Mark faced the consequences of their choices. I'd spent 12 years building a life with her, trusting her, loving her, and in a single moment, she'd thrown it all away. But I wasn't going to let her take my future with her. On Sunday, I flew back to Seattle. Despite everything, the Chicago deal had gone through. The clients impressed by my performance under pressure. Walking into our apartment, it felt different. Empty, but not in a bad way. It was like the space had been cleansed of her presence. The weight of her betrayal lifted. I began packing Lauren's things methodically, without anger. Her books, her clothes, the little trinkets she'd collected over the years, they went into boxes, ready to be shipped to wherever she ended up. I wasn't sad anymore. I wasn't even angry. I was free. A week later, Lauren called. I let it go to voicemail. Her voice was shaky, desperate, a far cry from the confident woman I'd known. Ethan, I don't know what's happening. The money's gone, Mark's in jail, and the hotel won't let me leave. I messed up, okay? I'm sorry. Please, just help me get home. I didn't call her back. Instead, I texted, You made your choice. Now live with it. Jake handled the legal fallout. The $150,000 was safely back in my account, and Lauren faced charges for theft and fraud. She eventually returned to the U.S., but not before spending 2 weeks in Bali, working odd jobs at the hotel, cleaning rooms, washing dishes, to pay her bill. Mark was extradited to face trial in another country, his fraud history finally catching up with him. His Instagram page, once a shrine to his fake glamour, went dark. A month later, I sold the apartment. Too many memories, too much betrayal lingered in those walls. I used the money, plus our recovered savings, to buy a small house in the suburbs, a quiet place with a backyard and room to breathe. I adopted a golden retriever named Max, a loyal companion who greeted me every morning with a wagging tail and a reminder that life could be simple again. I started taking on side projects, consulting gigs that kept my mind sharp and my bank account growing. My career was thriving, my life was quiet. And for the first time in years, I felt exactly where I was meant to be. The last I heard, Lauren was living with her parents in Oregon, working a low-paying job at a local diner, her reputation shattered by the fraud charges. She tried reaching out once more, sending a long email about being manipulated by Mark, claiming she still loved me, that she'd made a terrible mistake. I read the first line, then deleted it without replying. Her words didn't matter anymore. They couldn't undo the choices she'd made. Sometimes, I think about the other women Mark scammed, women who could have been in Lauren's place. I wonder if they got their justice, if they found a way to rebuild like I did. For me, I didn't need to shout, fight, or drag her through the mud. I didn't need to confront her or beg for answers. I just needed to be smarter, quieter, and one step ahead. In the end, that was the best revenge. Living well on my own terms, building a life I was proud of, while she faced the consequences of her betrayal. But the question lingers, not just for me, but for anyone who's been betrayed. What would you do? When someone you love plans to steal your dreams, do you forgive them? Let them walk away with a piece of you? Or do you design their nightmare, make them feel the weight of their choices? I made my choice. I took back my life, my money, my future, and I sleep just fine at night.